Hello and welcome back to the Absolute Mom. Today I am going to do a flip through of the BJU Press Math 1 curriculum. So we've always used BJU Press for our English and some of our science, but I decided to take a huge leap last year for our homeschool year in 2020-2021 and switch to all BJU Press for all 4 of my children, and I have to say we've been pretty happy with this switch. Right, so what I ended up getting this year was the distance learning online videos. So in kindergarten, we ended up doing everything DVD, and I've been very happy with that, but I wanted to switch over and try the online portion of it. And so this is what all you will get if you do the distance learning online for Math 1. You will get a work text, a student manipulatives packet, a Math 1 test, and the answer key, the student handouts that you'll be using throughout the year, and the video lesson guide. All right, so first I want to show you about the video lesson guide. So for me, the video lesson guide is a big part of BJU Press, and it really helps me keep on track because I know I am constantly questioning whether we are doing enough throughout the day or not. And I know that I have 180 lessons that I need to get done by the end of the school year. So this really helps me stay on track to know where we're at in the curriculum. And that way too, I am a working mom outside of the house, and so I need to give up something with homeschool, and I don't want to give up the time with my kids to do the lesson planning. So at this point in our life, in our homeschool journey, this is working perfectly. So the video lesson guide, I'm going to open up for you. And as you can see, it's very easy to read. They have laid this out very nicely. I do want to point out, as you can see here, there is a day and a video column, and these numbers don't always match up. So here you're on day 23, but your video lesson is number 20. So I do want to point that out, that they do not line up in every single subject. So the one I end up paying attention to is the video lesson number, because that's just what works best for us. So then if you go over one, you get a content. So this lets you know what they're going to be learning about and how long that video lesson is. And I enjoy knowing how long the video is going to be, because if we don't have, in this case, the average is 30 minutes. If we don't have 30 minutes to be available to get this math lesson done, then I might do a different subject instead, and then do this when we do have the 30 minutes later on throughout the day. Then the next column that you have is a materials column. So you can see on here it says digit folder. So what this is a folder that you will put all of the work text or handouts, any of the paper stuff that they need throughout the lesson for that day. Then you have a Cecilia box. This box is just a box that has all your manipulatives or any of the extra supplies that they might need for that day. And you'll also have an extra supply box that has your pencils, erasers, crayons, glue stick, scissors, anything that you might need for that lesson. And that way your kids aren't running around and getting distracted. SMP means student manipulative packet. So it lets me know how many of what that I need for that day. And then it also lets me know if we need any extra items. So this one says digit board. So all that is a dry erase board. So each of my kids have their own dry erase board that they'll be utilizing. And that way also it helps save on how much scrap paper we are going through. The next column here is your text. So it lets me know what work text pages we need. And then it also lets me know there is a math review book that is optional for Math 1. And I chose not to purchase this book, but all it is 2 pages per lesson. And the first page is reviewing things from the past, and the second page is reviewing the assignment that you did for that day. So the way that I end up using the assignment and facilitator instructions at this age is this just helps me if they have a quiz or a test on a certain day. At this age, I have not decided for sure if I'm going to do testing or not. Right, so there it is, the video lesson guide. There are 180 different days scheduled in for Math 1. The next thing I want to share with you is the student handouts. So these are all the handouts that they will need for the whole entire year, and I really appreciate that BJU Press provides these for us, and I don't have to constantly go online and print these out for every single day. So they're already 3-ring punched, and I put them into a 3-ring binder. So I do their planning for a whole entire week at a time. So I come in here, I grab everything I need for the whole entire week full of lessons, and then I put them into their individual folders that they'll use throughout the week. If one of these get ruined, torn, lost, anything like that, you need to replace it, you can go onto your parent resources on your website and print out a new one. The next thing I want to touch on is tests for Math 1. As I've said previously, I'm not positive whether we are going to test or not, but I do have these here as an option. So the tests, they end up having one at the end of every single chapter, and as you can see, it looks a lot like the work text does, except for these are black and white. So then they provide the answer key for these tests so that you can quickly check your students' work. Right, so then I want to show you the student manipulative packet. So I do know for the student manipulatives for math, you get one separately for K-5 math, you get one separately for first grade math, for second grade math, then third through sixth grade math gets all grouped together. And some of these manipulatives are the same throughout every single year, and other ones are a little bit different. So the theme for first grade math is that it has a lot of clowns. And so the two characters that your students become to love is Cecilia and Digit. So as you can see here, this is Digit the clown. So K-5 math had also a clock, but it had Farmer Brown on it. And so they do really utilize these characters, and I have to say, my kids absolutely love them. They actually cried on the last day of K-5 math because they were so sad that they were done with their characters. So here's a clock. Then you have your different characters. This is a parking lot work mat. And these work mats, some people end up laminating them and others just leave them. This is very thick cardstock, and so I find that it holds up very well. All right, you have number cards and number patterns. And this year they're going to add that you're going to recognize the number written out also. You have rulers, you have different number lines, different forms of measurement, and then a whole bunch of different shape manipulatives. So what I do to organize these is that I punch all of them out and I put them in separate Ziploc bags, such as Cecilia will be in a Ziploc bag, the cars will be in a Ziploc bag, the candies will be in a Ziploc bag, and then I group them together in different orders, such as money or rulers or time or numbers. So we did end up using the money in the past, but I do think that I am going to also include some real money this year because it's a little bit easier once you get into all these silver coins for them to delineate the difference between those. So that was the student manipulative packet for Math 1. And now we're going to go on to the one that you really want to see. So this is the Math 1 work text. As you can see, it's thick, but it's not super thick. I feel like it is appropriate for a whole entire school year. So they purposely have this spine glued this way. So your work text is not falling apart. They purposely do this so that it's nice and easy to rip out your pages. The one thing that I do like as the kids get older is they actually have these 3-hole punched, and I like that because I like to put my workbooks into a 3-ring binder. So what I end up doing is pulling out all these pages, I 3-ring punch them, and I put them into a binder, and then I put the cover on the front of the binder, and I put the back on the back of the binder, and that way everything stays nice and organized. So for the distance learning online and the DVDs, it's Math 1, the 3rd edition. And I will read through really quickly what each chapter is. But I do want to point out that chapters are named the same thing throughout different grade levels, but they go into different depth in their teaching. So don't feel like just because it says numbers to 20 that means that it wasn't covered in kindergarten, because kindergarten had the same exact titles for some of these chapters also. So chapter 1 is numbers to 10. Chapter 2, numbers to 20. Chapter 3, addition facts to 6. Chapter 4, place value, 2-digit numbers. Chapter 5, subtraction facts to 6. Chapter 6 is money. Chapter 7, addition facts to 12. Chapter 8, time and calendar. Chapter 9, fractions. Chapter 10, subtraction facts to 12. Chapter 11, customary measurement. Chapter 12, addition, 2-digit numbers. Chapter 13, subtraction, 2-digit numbers. Chapter 14, money. Chapter 15, geometry. Chapter 16, place value, 3-digit numbers. Chapter 17, metric measurement. Chapter 18, addition and subtraction facts to 18. Chapter 19, money. Chapter 20, time and calendar. Chapter 21, addition, 3-digit numbers. So there's 21 chapters total. And as you can see, a few of the chapters even had the same topic, but they are focusing on different items. So the other thing that I want to show you with each chapter also is at the end they have a chapter 3 review. So each chapter has its own review. And then they also have a cumulative review. So I like this about BJU Press Math because the chapter review lets me know either if they are ready for the test, or I know in the past with my oldest child, I have utilized this as the actual test. Then the cumulative review goes back and it pulls stuff from previous chapters so that it stays fresh in their mind. And I find for my kids that's very important and very helpful for them. The other item I want to point out here is math in the home. So they give different suggestions on how parents can actually utilize these lessons in a daily life in a home setting. And I really enjoy that too, because I find that most kids actually learn through hands-on or through play. And so this really helps to dig it deep into their mind. All right, so let's start looking at the actual textbook. So at the beginning of each chapter, there's this beautiful, colorful, different picture. And I know each chapter starts with a different story about Cecilia or Digit or what's going on in their life. Then each lesson is generally the front page is the learning section of it, and you do it all together. And then the back page is supposed to be more independent for them to do on their own to let them know if they have that concept or not. So as you can see, Math 1 really starts slowly and it goes back to ordinal numbers and 1 through 10 and pattern numbers. Everything is nice and colorful and beautiful. They do have quite a few Bible references in here, but I also feel like if you want a secular thing, that it's very easy for math to end up doing this secular. So I do know with my 2 kids, I am going to be skipping these first couple of chapters just because the pure fact that they're just beyond this and they understand these concepts very well. You can also see based on since kindergarten that there's a lot more things on the page. So some of the writing has gotten a little bit smaller, but they still leave appropriate spacing for the kids to be able to write their numbers. All right, and we are on to chapter 3. So So I also want to point out here, Cecilia comes in with time to review. So they're pulling stuff from previous assignments to make sure they're reviewing it throughout the week. So here's a chapter 3 review. So it lets you review everything that you actually did. And then I want to pull up the chapter 3 test for you. So here is the chapter 3 review, and here's the chapter 3 test. And as you can see, they're almost exactly the same. So this is where I'm saying if you don't want to purchase the test packet, you can use the reviews as the test. Here is the back side of the chapter 3 test. So again, you can see they're almost exactly the same thing. Now a suggestion is if your child does the chapter 3 review and they do really bad on it, then you can go back, you can reteach some of the concepts and do some review. Then you can utilize this test as a secondary test to make sure that that review ended up helping your child. Here is the cumulative review. And I also want to point out, if you did do distance learning online, or even if you do the DVDs, you do have access online to the teacher's manuals. So sometimes that's nice because it will let you know what chapters are being pulled from for each of these concepts too. So in these low grades, that's not as big of an issue, but as your kids get up into higher grades, it's nice to be able to say, hey, let's flip back to chapter 4 and let's review that concept real quick. So they do let you know that you need Unifix cubes, just 100 set for them. So I have 100 set for each of my kids. They started skip counting in kindergarten, but they continue it in first grade. All right, so here we are in chapter 5, beginning subtraction. And I love how simple they make each concept. They don't want to overwhelm the children. And so there's only 4 facts here that they need to actually take care of. And they know if I can count what is in the picture, then I'm able to actually do the problem. So they really start out with some big pictures, and then as time goes on, they end up taking the pictures away and have the children draw their own pictures, and then they end up having them do it a little bit more mentally. Now I have 2 kids, and they are kind of opposite when it comes to math or for a lot of the learning. So my boy wants to do everything mentally. He doesn't want to have to think through it creatively and see the pictures or draw the pictures. He lets me know all the time, Mom, I already know that answer is 2, or I already know the answer is 10. But I really still encourage him to go through the whole process, and that way when we get into bigger things such as multiplication in a couple years and stuff, he has a really good baseline for math. They're introducing number lines. And then other things that they introduce that I know still my 5th grader is doing on different levels is different principles. And so I find that this is helpful for them to know, because if they know the 0 principle of addition, then it will become an automatic and they don't even have to think through the problem. They're starting 3 add-ins, and instead of simply just making it a vertical problem, they ended up adding pictures to help the kids keep interest. They also do a lot of this listen to your teacher, and then they have to color in whatever their teacher has done. And I like that because it keeps their attention throughout the video. So they do have multiple parts of instructions. So like here it says add, and then circle the double facts. So they have to make sure to follow the instructions completely. And I know sometimes my 5th grader still has an issue with that, and I have to remind her there's 3 parts to that instruction, or there are 4 parts that you need to make sure to complete. So I do want to point out also, if your kids know some of these concepts, feel free to skip different sections or different chapters, different lessons. Make sure to do what works for you so that you don't get to the end of the book and realize that you're out of time to actually cover any more concepts at all. So I want to look here at the math and the home. So they were doing a lot of things with calendars and time here. Their suggestion here is to go ahead and put a clock, a non-digital clock, into your child's room, and that way daily they could be practicing their clock skills. They also say that they've been working on the calendar, so make sure to hang a calendar low within their eyesight so they can practice that daily, and to let them cross out yesterday and realize what today is every day. They also suggest to make some flashcards, and you could play a time tic-tac-toe. So they give multiple suggestions at these math at homes, and I really appreciate that because I know my kids love learning through play. So another thing they do suggest that you have is addition cards to end up practicing your fact family. So every single lesson, or most lessons, you have certain fact families that you are going to work on. Just remember, repetition really makes them master these skills. So don't be afraid to do some of these extra items. Even if you don't do it exactly at math time, sometimes we end up doing certain things such as read aloud at supper time, like as I'm getting supper ready, they're reading to me, or practicing math facts. They can do that as I'm making supper. I also want to say the teacher for the videos for this, and the videos, whether it's distance learning online or DVD, are the same exact videos, so don't be scared of that. But the teacher for Math 1 is Mrs. Lawson. So Mrs. Lawson teaches on a whole bunch of different levels, so now all 4 of my kids will have Mrs. Lawson, and they all think it's so fun that they're sharing different teachers. Also, don't hesitate to download that teacher's manual and do a few of these lessons on your own, because I know that's one of my favorite parts about homeschool is actually teaching my children. So I usually, depending on how busy I am for the day, I end up picking certain subjects that I end up doing with my child. So I like how they have this laid out very well, and I feel like a lot of math curriculums do this, where they make sure they know this is the ones column and this is the tens column. This is chapter 14. Now I know this is long, but I get a lot of requests to actually flip through every single page so that you can really determine where you feel like your child belongs in each curriculum. All right, they were counting by hundreds all the way up to 1,000. Now they're doing some missing numbers. They're writing numbers to 1,000 and doing place values. Comparing large numbers. Another review. They're doing measurements, which we love to play around with measurements in our family. We just let them have a tape measure or a ruler and go around and measure different items. Measuring perimeter. Here's chapter 17 review, and then a cumulative review. Adding doubles. Adding near doubles. I really like that they are touching on all these items because it definitely makes things down the road a lot easier. Different fact families. And they're touching on multi-step problems. So I really like that too, because that's really getting down deep into creative thinking. And the one thing about BJU Press is they want to teach your children how, not just how to do it, but the behind the scenes how to complete it. So here you can see it's Cecilia and Digit, and they'll have another story about what they are up to. Chapter 19 review. So they end up showing them repeated addition equations, and then on the next lesson they want them to actually just write them in on their own. So I really love how they build up their skills. Chapter 20. As you can see, the amount of work that is on each page is about the same. The writing is about the same. So things stay consistent throughout the lessons. Chapter 21 review. So they're adding up into the hundreds. And renaming. Right, so there you have it. That is the whole entire thing. There's 334 pages, so this is lesson 154. There are some extra supplemental lessons that you can also do if you feel like your child is a little bit advanced and can go a little bit further into it. But I have to say, my kids, they have been begging to start this math one. So I told them I needed to do the flip through real quick, and then I'd go ahead and I'd let them start the lessons. Like I said, we are going to skip the first couple of chapters because they've really mastered numbers 1 through 20, and then I'll figure out the exact lesson that they will begin with. But they're super excited to meet Digit and Cecilia and have a fun school year with them. All right, if you like these kind of videos, please give this one a big thumbs up. Also make sure you are subscribed and that notification bell is set to all so that you're notified every single time I upload. I do have 4 kids that I am homeschooling, so there will be plenty of homeschool things. I will be doing flip throughs this year. I know I missed a lot of them last year, but I didn't realize how much you guys actually love them. So I will make sure to get those done for this year. Also keep checking back because I have cleaning and organization and decluttering motivation on my YouTube videos also. So make sure to check out a whole bunch of different playlists, and I appreciate absolutely each and every single one of you. Until next time, bye.